everyone, welcome to my channel. Before watching this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's start this video. Maritime law enforcement in the Philippines. Maritime law enforcement may be broadly defined as the coordinated efforts by government enforcement agencies to prevent, detect, and suppress violation of maritime laws and their concomitant rules and regulations. This definition intentionally excludes the other pillars of law enforcement, such as the court, rehabilitation centers, and the community, and focus on the people duly authorized to enforce the law in the maritime domain. Prevention entails contains presence of and public information dissemination by law enforcers to dissuade violators. Detection involves employment of physical sense and electronic means to discover the violation of the law. Suppressions of the actual application of reasonable force to arrest the violators and to seize the evidence of such violations. Each of these actions requires physical, financial, and human resources that determines the efficacy of the enforcement policy. These articles review the basic features of maritime law enforcement, cite some challenges, and suggest strategies to enhance maritime law enforcement. Features of maritime law enforcement. The sea is the center of maritime activities. It is a source of food, power, and energy. The sea also provides a line of communication between island and nation that carries over 80% of the world trade commodities. While the sea is commonly used to establish geographical boundaries of many nation states, it also connects them. Given the vastness of the sea, the varied territorial claims by coastal states, and the institutionalization of international human rights law, enforcing the law in the maritime environment inevitably becomes very challenging. There are 5 features of maritime law enforcement: authority, surveillance, apprehension, prosecution, and disposition. Authority is the power to judge, act, or command, and necessarily requires extensive knowledge of the laws, rules, and regulations. Enforcement consists of 3 categories. First, area of jurisdictions. Second, person or thing. And third, offense or violation. The 1982 United Nations Law of the Sea is one of the many laws that vest a coastal state authority to enforce its law pertaining to custom, immigration, quarantine, fishery, marine pollution, and etc. in specified geographical areas adjacent to it. At the high seas, the coastal state exercised the right to visit merchant vessels under the following circumstances. First, engage in the slave trade. Second, engage in piracy. Third, engage in illegal broadcasting. Fourth, without nationality. And fifth, displaying a flag other than the ship's state flag. Surveillance is the act of ascertaining the violation through observance of facts. It normally starts with intelligence report or formal requests from principal agencies mandated to implement special laws. After collaboration with other intelligence agencies, the task law enforcement unit conducts actual verification. Once on the scene, visual detection is the most common way to discover the violation. If boarding the suspect vessel is the necessary and proper interdiction, then boarding procedures must be followed to the letter to avoid any untoward incidents. Apprehension is the next step in enforcement once surveillance is completed. Apprehension is the next step in the enforcement once surveillance is complete. This requires minimum amount of force to protect the enforcers, placing the suspect under custody and gathering evidence of the violation. Vital data needed upon apprehension include the actual location and time of arrest, vessel name and nationality, crew and passengers, cargo manifest, and port of origin and destination. At this stage, enforcers must observe proper procedures to avoid human rights curtailment and preserve the evidence of the violation. Unless armed with a search warrant, inspection officers must observe the Miranda doctrine in conducting search about the vessel. Prosecution is the process of resolving the violation after the apprehension. Right after the arrest of suspect and the gathering of evidence, an enforcement team shall conduct tactical interrogation to initially determine the probable cause to warrant elevation to the prosecutor's office. For serious violations like piracy, slave trading, illegal broadcasting against the coastal states, and smuggling of contraband goods or prohibited drugs, WMD, firearms, and etc., the conveyance vessel may be detained in the nearest port. The task of the arresting officer shall to be served as witnesses during preliminary investigation and court trial and to present the evidence in their original form and quantity. Disposition in this act of implementing the court decision. It also involves the recording of the entire proceeding for analysis that should user policy and procedural change and future reference. Disposition gauge the success or failure of the enforcement efforts. Challenges. Each of the 5 features enumerated above pose several challenges. The authority to enforce laws in the maritime environment emanates from the legislature that assign the implementation of such law to specific agencies under the executive branch of government. But most of these agencies have limited capability and so they deputize the uniform service with the seagoing assets like Coast Guard, the Navy, and the Maritime Police. Since these uninformed services have their primary function, their assistance to requesting agencies depends on the nature, criticality, and location of the violence and the availability of ship and aircraft. In the past, the National Law Enforcement Coordinating Committee or NALECC served as coordinative body to align the government law enforcement plans, programs, and activities at the national level. NALECC's collective decisions were cascaded down the regional and provincial levels. The Philippine Navy took the lead in the maritime domain with its patrol vessel and the Coast Guard unit stationed ashore. Former President Fidel V. Ramos, then Chief of Philippine Constabulary, was founding chair of NALECC. Commodore Carlos L. Agustin was one of FVR's staff during those days. In 2011, the government institutionalized the Nation Coast Watch System or NCWS that traced its beginnings in the Philippine Navy as far back as the 70s. The principal decision-making body is a council consisting of 9 line department secretaries and the executive secretary. Its implementer is the National Coast Watch Center, whose main task is coordinating maritime security operations, including maritime law enforcement. Failure to promptly monitor, if not prevent, the 2013 intrusion by Sulu Sultanate warriors to Lahad Datu in Sabah, Malaysia, demonstrate the gap between concept and implementation. Okay everyone, that's all this article today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until the next one, bye bye.